monthly. She ordered 2 vegetarian cakes, and one was a carrot cake, and we had that, and we all dined on the vegetarian cakes, and it was very good. So.
And Gregory and folks at home, the Glendora Vegetarian Club is in its over 4.5 years. We had the 60th meeting this week, and it has spent over $18,000. And we have over 750 hours and over 650 pages of blog. Those are the stats on the Glendora Vegetarian Club.
Yep, and I've attended the past, at least the past 3 suppers you've had here. So
He's been the chef.
at least the past 3.
He wore an apron.
I was the chef at this past one, and this past week we had a banner turnout of attendees here coming to the supper, and
There were 14?
but there was like way over 10.
Yeah, it was 14. 14 attendees.
But when the night of the supper, we were not sure, how many people will attend, but we've had some good turnouts here, anyways.
Well, the biggest one was 27. And but of those 14 attendees, one was a dog, hunter dog.
Oh yeah, the dogs. And this is the let's see here. Can't you see? Oh, plant-based eating on the road. This is a conscious eating, and plant-based eating while on the road. Clever ways to eat healthy anywhere.
Good idea.
And, do you want me to read this?
Yes, we'll do some of it. Yeah.
This is by Judith Vertig in the
Hi, Judith.
in the Albany Awakenings magazine. Traveling can be tricky for those trying to eat a plant-based diet, especially on long stretches of highway. More than 33% of Americans, or 100 million plus people, are eating vegan and vegetarian meals more often, even if they do not adhere to a strict plant-based lifestyle, concluded a 2011 Harris study commissioned by the Vegetarian Resource Group. Here's what the discerning traveler can do when hunger strikes. Start by looking for vegan pit stops before you go. Identify a plant-friendly restaurant group, such as Dr. Andrew Weil's True Food Kitchen, now in 12 states.
Say that again, Doctor.
Dr. Andrew Weil's True Food Kitchen. A restaurant group, which is a restaurant group of a vegetarian restaurant, I guess. I haven't heard about that. But
Oh, we're growing. We are growing.
it says it's now in 12 states.
Yeah.
And then Google for their locations. Smartphone apps such as Finding Vegan and Happy Cow help point the way to vegan-friendly restaurants around the world.
There is an app, they're saying, to vegan.
Yeah, there's an app for smartphones on that. Finding Vegan and Happy Cow. For those 2 apps. This month, Natural Awakenings asked 3 savvy travelers how they manage plant-based eating wherever they go. For Dustin, Dustin Harder, eating well on the road is a matter of research and preparation. He's a New York City-based chef, host of the online program The Vegan Roadie, with 100 U.S. restaurant visits and counting, and now seeking crowdfunding for its 3rd season, set in Italy. Harder has learned to investigate his dining options ahead of time and always packs a travel-size, high-speed blender, lots of trail mix, and his favorite condiments of sriracha, hot sauce, and nutritional yeast. He says he states you can locate great vegan
You hear
restaurants.
that, .com? Nutritional yeast. She has that on every dish.
That's a .com there. You can locate great vegan restaurants in surprising places if you search online before you travel.
This is
And,
great. Great.
Listen, Viva Vegeria and La Botanica in San Antonio, Texas, and the Red Fern in Rochester, New York.
La Botanica in San Antonio, and who was the other one in San Antonio?
Oh, Viva Vegeria, it says.
Viva Vegeria.
And it's all
Long live vegetarianism.
vegetarian restaurants in San Antonio, Texas, and I can just smell and I could taste the food right now, pretty much.
Did you show
It's
them
tasty.
the picture first, honey? I don't think we did.
Yeah, they show. They just show a caption there about trying to eat vegan while you're traveling. So,
Well, that's good, Greg.
and let's see. There's
Now that came from the publication magazine Mercy for Animals. And Nathan Runkle, the founder, has written a book called Mercy for Animals. What, you got something on there too?
Natural Awakenings. No, that's about it.
Okay.
But it's eating on the road, and when you travel, you want to eat healthy, and you're not home, and you either have to bring your own food and prepare it, or you have to seek out a vegetarian fare, and sometimes that's not always easy. But nowadays, more restaurants are more health conscious, and they realize that people would like to eat healthy, and they're being forced to cook either gluten-free or vegetarian meals.
Do you have to eat on the road? Can't you sit on the side of the road and eat?
Well, there's like different ways of doing that anyway. So there's a couple of there's some recipes here for vegan do-it-yourself room service. Here it says.
What's that? Do-it-yourself rooms?
And how to cooking without like a oven or stove. So, but that's what that is. So.
I don't get it, Greg. Go over it again, would you please?
Well, there's some recipes here for people who travel. If you travel with your a travel-sized blender, or you can have a way of heating up. They call it a travel iron. If you have a hotel or travel iron, and making tortillas with an iron. I don't know. That's a different way of doing it, but that's for people that don't have a kitchen.
You mean you could take a sterno, like a sterno stove?
Well, it's if you or a hotel or travel iron. It says it's an iron for linens, and
no.
well, that's
Iron?
what they do.
Oh, no, that belongs to the 16th century. That's Paleolithic.
Something like that. So, and
Who ever heard of ironing?
but they
these
have
days?
recipes for people that they're not home and they don't have their kitchen with them. And
Okay.
but you either have to have a cook stove or ways of cooking or heating everything, and
Show that to the people, honey, first.
this is natural ways to cleanse your body and your mind, to take toxins out of your life,
Yeah.
and
How do you do that, Greg? Fasting is a way to take toxins out of your life. Fasting. A man told me he went on a fast, and it was a long fast. And he said the third or fourth day, the toxins started coming out of his skin.
So they talk about detox in here. This is the term detox has been gaining traction in health circles, but cleansing practices have existed for millennia, ranging from Egyptian hydrotherapy to medieval Lenten practices and Native American fasting. The truth is that we need cleansing now more than ever to rid our bodies of chemical overload and our minds of negative thinking, it says.
Wonderful!
And that's in the article in here. So.
Thank you, Mercy for Animals. Greg, you're doing a very valuable job here.
And he's speaking here about, oh, and it gets more involved than I understand.
That's enough. And you've got one last page, Mercy for Animals.
So let's see now. You speak about different programs and day programs, like a 21 day program of detoxification of the body.
I'm interested in that. What's it say?
That's eating broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables.
Well, I bet you Debbie Holden would have no toxins. Folks, all she eats is greens. She has a blended green drink in the morning, and in the noon she has a salad, and at night she has these vegetables. Not with oil, but she puts the vegetables in the fry pan, and the moisture in the vegetables gives them their own steam. And that's all she eats, and almond butter and maybe hummus.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all she's eating, and that's for 3 months. I bet you she doesn't have any toxins.
No, probably not. Does she make like a smoothie or a shake at all? Or
Yeah, that's in the morning, but it's green as can be, I think.
Well, it's green and
Oh
healthy,
yeah, it's
better than
it's
better than coffee. Some people, they drink coffee in the morning, and coffee you drink a cup of coffee, and it just some people, it agrees with some people, and some people does not. And but I myself, I drink a lot of tea, and I just like to drink green tea or things like that. And that's antioxidant. It helps cleanse your body. It says choose colorful. There's 5 ways to detox every day here. One is eat broccoli and vegetables, and then number 2 is choose colorful produce, and the pigment indicates the richness of antioxidants that keep the body functioning efficiently. That's with the colorful vegetables.
And number 3?
And it says follow the seasons, because nature provides the ideal harvest for each season. Heavier, denser foods in winter, like wheat, dairy, or roots, or nuts and seeds, and high energy fruits and vegetables in summer.
High energy foods and vegetables. Now, what is that?
High energy fruits and vegetables in summer.
That must be fruit.
Cooling, yeah, fruits and nuts, and the research suggests that gut microbes are meant to change with local seasonal foods to optimize digestion, mood, and immunity.
Makes sense.
And
The universe
says,
always makes sense.
It says avoid plastics. Avoid plastics by limiting intake of foods stored or cooked in plastic, especially cling wrap, which is made of polyvinyl chloride, a known carcinogen, it says. And
Sure, cook them yourself. Greg, I want to tell the people what I think for me. No, I don't know.
And it speaks about filtered water.
Well, I do that. I get spring water.
Spring water. So yeah, that's how that.
Here's mine, folks. In the morning, fresh fruit, like an orange, and an apple, grapes, banana, okay, and then hot cereal, real cereal like Wheatina or malto meal. Oatmeal I don't go for so much, but Wheatina and malto meal. Maple I don't like. I don't think it's the greatest stuff. And soy milk on it. And then the next one is the nut fruit shake, and it's all those things that Greg just told you about. It's pineapple juice, a banana, oats, and cashews. That's all. And then granola. That's it for the day. No carbohydrates, okay, no starches, okay. That's what I think is saintly eating, a regimen of saintly eating. And in 3 days is Labor Day, folks, and I'm going to resuscitate that and stick to it.
But I have to say it does take a lot of discipline and regimen if you plan on eating well and eating vegetarian. Some people it's not easy to make a transition over from eating other foods to transfer over to just vegetarian food, but it takes a lot of perseverance and
Denial.
and you have to deny a lot of other things, and you really have to set your mind. If you want to eat vegetarian, you could do that, but you have to stick to it every day, and you can't. You have to go down the vegetarian path, and there's a lot of distractions and temptations of other things there from it, but if you want to eat healthy, and if you eat vegetarian with the greens and fruit and nuts, it is a very healthy lifestyle. That's what it is. So,
Would you read that to the folks, inform them of it, and while I go check the camera, honey?
sure.
Thank you.
This is an article about joyful and compassionate eating.
Okay, excuse me,
And,
folks. I set up the camera wrong.
And it speaks about all about the conditions that the animals have to put up with for the food chain, and let's see there the speaks about the benefits of a plant-based diet. When we eat and exercise, we are better able to serve God. We feel more vigorous and alert, and we can attain and maintain a healthy weight.
And let me tell you who God is. God. Now, who put this out?
This is the Christian Vegetarian Association.
Oh, that's a new one. We'll have to send them money. Where they're located.
Oh, well, it doesn't give the address there, but here well, it's got. We'll have to go look that up, but it doesn't. Yeah, they have the name of the company, but it doesn't have the address of it. But,
Okay, we can look it up. Christian Vegetarian
yeah,
Association.
that's what it is. So. But
What be?
And it says how to take antibiotic-resistant germs. It tells you about that, and then how can I take the first step in eating vegetarian? And
Cool. Good info.
but it's very informative. But I eat a lot of fruit. I eat a lot of bananas and peaches, and fruit and nuts is a healthy antioxidants.
Greg, I think you're doing a great job.
And this is the
Show it to the
this is a
people.
copy. This is the copy of
The camera's up there.
the vegetarian voice.
What is that, the Vegetarian Voice?
It's the
Who puts that out?
this is from the North American Vegetarian
Oh,
Society.
yeah.
Puts
Oh,
this out.
really?
And it speaks about the well, this has been passed there. The Vegetarian Summerfest. I think this is like
That
last
was
year.
the one that the American Vegan Society puts on in Malaga, New Jersey on Memorial Day.
But this
And Mary Lawrence, our friend, went, and we have a video to show you of it.
and this is really the Summerfest.
Mm-hmm.
The This has,
I think you saw the video.
yeah, this is this is like from last year, spring last year, but then well, let's see, we could go over the Summerfest of last year. They have an article in here. This
It
is
isn't all about the Summerfest, is it?
No,
All
they
right.
have, let's see, they have,
Greg, what is this?
well, in here they have, this is a, oh, this is for the one this past year, and they had it in July of this year. It was in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, it says.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Excuse me. It's
And,
not in New Jersey, so it's in
it,
Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
So they have the Vegetarian Summerfest. It's a conference of the North American Vegetarian Society, and
Oh, it is?
where they have over 60 informative and inspiring speakers, and this is the schedule. But this is just this past July.
What is this, a
They
postcard?
put a little like
A flyer?
it's a mailer postcard to advertise
Oh, okay.
this past Summerfest that they had. So
Boy, this is good information you're passing on. Folks, I say again that this feature of A Chat with Glendora is called Glendora, Pass It On. I believe these things come into the mail or through other people. I believe they would help you and they would help the whole universe. And so that's why I make this feature. Well, pass it on. I can't read anymore, and that's why Greg is so valuable and precious to do this.
but the Vegan Society, they have a book shop here, and there's all different they have different books here that people can purchase about vegan cooking and veganism.
That's
And
nice.
there's all different things about speaking about cookbooks and a whole host of recipes and vegan messages and speaking about that. That's all that. Then there's a couple of recipes in here for vegetarian recipes and
Casseroles?
well, they have a let's see, is it white bean and spinach quesadillas,
That sounds good.
which it's got olive oil and cloves
It's cloves.
and
Wonderful flavor.
and flour tortillas and
Yeah.
and olive oil, onions, and paprika and saffron, and everything all put together leaves the taste. The taste is pretty incredible. I can say that. So
Would you read me the ingredients for the white beans and spinach?
yeah, the white bean and spinach quesadillas, which I like quesadillas. It says. Frozen spinach and canned white beans combined with garlic and spices to make a delectable filling for these hearty quesadillas.
What's a
And
quesadilla?
it's a little tortilla folded with chopped up cooked food inside of it.
Oh, yeah.
And
How's it different from a taco?
well, it's like tacos. They have put some meat in the tacos, and it's spicy. But these are all. This has all nutritional beans and spinach. That's all very healthy eating right there. And it tells you how to do that. So they have ground and cumin and coriander and lemon juice.
Cumin.
And
What'd you say was the second one after cumin?
the coriander and
What is that?
and it's like a spice, I guess.
We have to
Or
buy
they
it.
have like frozen spinach and ground black pepper and the beans. A 15-ounce can of black beans, drained and rinsed, and it's all heated up in a pan, and you heat all the ingredients up and cook it, and you put them in the tortillas, and they're all folded up, and it leaves a tray of tortillas, and there's like a dip. You can dip them in the sauce.
Oh, what sauce, honey? What's the sauce?
Oh, well, the kind of a
Oh,
hot,
you mean hot sauce?
Yeah, the hot sauce.
Oh, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like
no.
that. I don't like jalapeno.
Oh, you don't like that.
Jalapeno. I do not like that.
But then they have just different ways of cooking. There's they show some cookers here. It's like a kind of like a pressure cooker that cooks in speedy, faster than normal. It looks like a rice cooker. It looks like, and well, let's see. They have what do we have?
This is put out by North American Vegetarian Society.
And let's see. They have different question. An interview about speaking about celiac disease and things like that, and that's if you have a severe intolerance to gluten, you get celiac disease, and some people.
I don't know about this gluten stuff. I think that's just propaganda put out by the meat industry.
And but
I really suspect that.
but if people they have diet problems, they go like on an elimination. The elimination diet where you eat certain things and you eliminate certain things at certain times. Then you can that helps you pinpoint and identify what you might have a problem eating.
Those recipes you read me interest me. I bet you those would be delicious. Better than what I told you my regimen of saintly eating is. I think I'll do that. Maybe instead of the granola as the fourth thing to eat, I'll eat those things. They're protein and greens, Greg.
But the thing is that people, some people they they fall into the trap of fast food, or they're busy in their day. They don't have time to cook and all that. So then they go to like quote like fast food place and get something in a bag and get that, and which is fried or greasy,
And usually some poor animal.
and it's not totally healthy, but fast food does not have to be unhealthy. They could they could create a fast food franchise where they have vegetarian healthy food, and such as quesadillas or something like that, and why can't we, if we can have one type of fast food, maybe we could have fast quote healthy food too, and that would be probably a change for the better for maybe for society. I would think so.
Thank you for that contribution, and thank you for passing it on. Glendora passed it on. Okay, would you turn off the camera? And may the Lord bless you
Okay, all right.
and keep you,
All right. So,
and may His face shine upon you. Amen.
but they
Folks, get a look at this quickly. They're out there brutalizing my tree friends that I love, everyone is practically by name, and I talk to them. But they're going. I'm not running the universe. It's not my call. I go through this often. People cutting down the greenery that I love. And as I say, to me, they're friends. And now this is a beautiful scene out, the only two windows I have. And I think we're going to lose it all. They've already done a butchery
I don't know.
to the, and the birds are upset. You see the birds, Gregory? They're upset. They're cutting down the birds' greenery.
It's printed now.
We are making a certificate of appreciation to the TV stations and the cable TV operators and the United States government for the public access law. There goes my greenery. There goes my privacy.
That came out pretty good. That's good.
It's all poison ivy there, back there. There goes my greenery. There goes my privacy. There goes my beauty. Now all I've got to look at is that ugly house. Oh, see the beauty go. And that poor tree worked so hard making that. It worked so hard. Gregory has made our certificate of appreciation. He has scanned it. And what are you doing now? Sending it to Newark TV?
No, just finishing the whole scan package.
Okay.
Right. So.
The scan package.
And that's about it. Okay, now we have to save the file. So.
How does this look for a lettuce and tomato and vegan bacon sandwich? BLT.
It doesn't tell you. Oh, we have the 9-1.
No. Lou Conway.
Hey, Glendora, how you doing? Lou Conway. You call me back when you get a chance. If I don't pick up, leave a message. I'll have your address readily available. Just call me up and leave the address on my message unit, and I'll get that out for you. Okay. Thank you. I hope everything's well. Bye.
Glad to hear from you, Lou.
End of message. To erase this message, press... I'm just returning your call. We've been in Maine. We just returned today. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Oh, that's Brenda Roy.
End of message. To erase... Message erased. Next message.
Hi, Glendora. It's Robert. I was just calling to read this outline. The church bulletin, the outline for the 20th Sunday Ordinary Time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here now. So, okay, we can do it this morning.
I missed him 3 times.
This morning. I had to leave a little bit earlier today. So, I had to run to the bank before I go to work. Okay, so hope to talk to you in a little while. Okay, bye-bye.
I'm so sorry. I missed it 3 mornings in a row.
To erase
Robert
this
Jackson.
message, press 7.
Read the church
To send a
bulletin.
reply message, press 8. To save it, press 9. To hear more options, press 0.
Okay, what do I got to do now? Erase it?
Message erased. Next message.
Stop. So, okay, I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day. And see you later.
Pittsfield. That's nice. I like her.
End of message. To erase this message, press 7. To listen to your messages, press 1. To send a...
Hi, Glendora, my friend. It's Jeannie Ray. I was just calling because I...
Message erased. Next message.
Hey, this is Tony from Brooklyn calling Glendora. Talk to you later.
Tony
End
Riddle.
of message. To erase this message, press 7. To send a... To listen to your messages, press 1. To send a message, press 2. To change your personal options, press 4. To disconnect, press star. You have pressed an incorrect key. To listen to your messages, press 1. To send a message, press 2. To change your personal options, to listen to your voice messages, press 2. First message. Hi, Glendora, it's Brenda. I'm just returning your call. We've been... To listen to your messages, press 1. To send a message, press 2.
Hi there, everybody. It's Glendora. Bob said to Paul, "You remind me of Dan Smith." And Paul says, "Well, I'm not a thing like Dan Smith." Bob says, "Oh, yes, you are. You both owe me $10. There was a sign in front of the house that said, "Drum set for sale." And the sign in front of the next house said, "Hooray." And a man trying to appreciate his wife, that she hadn't changed with a number of years, he said, "Honey, you look the same as you did 25 years ago." And she says, "That's because I'm wearing the same dress."
Options, press 4. To disconnect. First voice message.
Labor Day weekend,
Hi,
folks.
Glendora. I did receive your message last night. I'm afraid I cannot take you on Tuesday. This is a really busy week for me, so Tuesday through Friday, I'm tied up with appointments or babysitting, one or the other. So I'm sorry this week it just can't be done. I'm hoping you can find someone else that can help you out. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pat Nichols.
End of message. To erase message, press 7. To send a reply message, to save it, press 9. To hear more options. Message erased. Next message. Hi, Glendora, it's Sandy. Just calling to say hello. Hope all is well. Bye. End of message. Message erased. End of new messages. To listen.
Hi there, everybody. It's Labor Day weekend. The minister asked the young lady, "When are you thinking of getting married?" And she said, "Constantly."
All the silence, and I don't understand. She's my job 5 days a week, rocket man. I'm a rocket man. It's gonna be a long, long time. Touchdown brings me around again to find I'm not the man I think I am at home. Oh, no, no, I'm a rocket man. Yeah, a rocket man, learning how to fuse up Arizona. It's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me around again to find
And without further ado, please welcome, put your hands together for Dr. Jonathan Balcone. Welcome.
Thank you for Beretta. I once spoke at a conference right after Jane Goodall. That was a thrill for me, and her, of course. But I don't know, I might have just been outdone. Having a poem recited like that is a beautiful thing. Thank you for that, Beretta.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The 97 birds are. I'm a bird watcher. I love nature, and Beretta was asking me for some sort of stuff that wouldn't be in the publicly available material, some background information, and I figured better how many birds I've seen on this trip than flesh-eating parasites from Africa. That was going to be my next choice, but I thought I'd spare you that after lunch. It's true. It may be in my next book, actually.
Yeah, I might be able to, yeah.
If not, we'll...
I want to start out with a personal account from when I was 8 years old. I climbed into an aluminum rowboat with a rather elderly director at a summer camp north of Toronto, where I grew up in Canada. And he rowed us out into the bay about a quarter mile. And we spent the next 2 hours fishing. And even though I had a primitive little sapling pole with a hook on the end, I was quite effective. I caught 16 fish that night. Most of them were little ones that were tossed back into the water, but several of the bigger ones were kept for breakfast the next morning. Mr. Nelson did all the dirty work, baiting the hooks with writhing earthworms, pulling them out of the fish's faces, and plunging his knife into the skulls of the keepers. I was a sensitive boy with a soft spot for animals, and a lot of what went on in that boat disturbed me. But I rationalized, I reasoned, as we humans are so good at doing, that this kindly man didn't seem to think anything was wrong, so I figured it must be okay. And but I never took a shine to fishing. When it came time to bait my own hooks and pull them out of fish's mouths, I soon lost any interest. I just couldn't help seeing it from their perspective. That was 50 years ago next month. And to this day, we generally see fishes through one of two lenses, for the most part. A source of food and a source of recreation. A pleasant thing to spend a Sunday afternoon doing is catching fish, provided you're not the fish. Well, today I want to invite you to see these creatures through a different lens. I've spent the last 5 years swimming with, researching, and writing about fishes. And I did that because, as an ethologist, I spent quite a lot of time poring over journal literature and scientific articles. And I was becoming aware there's a lot of really cool stuff that fishes do, and most people haven't a clue about that. It's not filtering up to the general public's awareness. So I wanted to change that. That's why I wrote this book, What a Fish Knows, a copy of which I should have in my hands. I didn't think to bring one. There are a few copies in the bookstore. I'd be happy to sign them. I also have bookmarks that I can give anyone who wants them. And so that's what I've done. So I'm just going to, in my 4.5-hour lecture today, I'm just going to sorry, 5-hour lecture. Punish you for that. I'm just going to give you a few highlights from the book. The first of which relates to the diversity of fishes. I want to impress upon you that we are actually living in an age, if not the age, of fish or fishes. I prefer to say fishes, by the way, as plural, because we generally say fish as a collective term. This is part of the problem. We lump them all together, just a fish. It's a way of diminishing them. You may not think of it that way, but I think it has that effect. And I think the language we use is important. So, like when I go birding, I don't say I saw 55 bird. I saw birds. So I saw fishes because they're individuals. So anyway, so that's my choice, and I explain that in the book. But we are living in an age of fishes, actually. Most of the species in existence today on the Earth are no older, have not been around any longer than Homo sapiens, our own species. And we generally accept we've not been around very long, about 1 million years, estimated 1 to 2 million years. In evolutionary time, that's not really very long. That's not to say fishes are new. They've been around on the planet a long, long time. In fact, if you compress the whole time that humans have been on Earth into 1 second, fishes have been around for about 4.5 minutes. So they are here. They've been here a long time. It's just they're evolving just as fast, or arguably, possibly faster than we are. And that's a common misperception, is that they're primitive. They're primitive in the sense they've been around a long time, but as I say, most of the ones alive today are relatively new. And they continue to evolve as they're faced with challenges from their environments, just as we do. There are two major groups. There's the cotyledons, or bony fishes, and then there's the chondrichthyans, or cartilaginous ones. The latter are the sharks and rays and skates. They are as different from the bony fishes. A shark is as different from a salmon as is a bird from a mammal. So we're really living among 6 major classes of vertebrates today. Issue? Hold it closer? Yeah, I'm really bad for that. If you're at the back and you're not hearing me, just remind me, because I tend to do that a lot. So I'll try and keep the microphone close. Thank you. Just want to share a few names of fishes. I love the way we creatively name them. Whoever came up with some of the fish names deserve prizes. I usually show slides, so normally you would get to see pictures, but you have to just imagine them. The clown triggerfish, a gorgeous reef fish with spots and dots, and some people are nodding in recognition. They know this fish. There's yellow, there's white, there's black. They're gorgeous. Triggerfishes are particularly brilliant fishes as well, so they've also got a really keen mind. I'm not so sure I'd want to be called a sarcastic fringe head. And don't call any of your relatives a hairy-jawed sack mouth. It doesn't usually go down very well. But there are a couple of deep-sea anglerfishes that actually have those names. Then there's the Hawaiian species with the longest name. The name that English speakers would call it is the lovely name Picasso triggerfish, but the natives call it the Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a. I'll say that again into the microphone. Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a. There will be a quiz on that before you leave today, so make sure you have that memorized. It stands for the pig who sews with a needle and grunts like a pig. The fish who sews with a needle and grunts like a pig. I think I said that wrong. All right, enough. There is one other that I sometimes share, the inadvertently brutest fish name, but it's a family audience. I'm not going to share it today. You'll just have to look in the book for that one. Halicaris bivitatis is the Latin name, but I'm not giving you the common name. Okay, so that's a little bit about the diversity of fishes. I want to dispense with the notion, the persistent, most annoying notion that fishes do not feel pain. I suspect most people here don't subscribe to that opinion. Nevertheless, there are a few scientists who continue to argue. I actually co-edited a journal called Animal Sentience. It's the first ever journal on animal feeling, how animals feel. And it's an online open access journal. Anyone can go online this afternoon or later and read that journal and read its contents. You will find an article in there, the very first major article we published, which was an argument from a physiologist from Australia. He's arguing why fishes do not feel pain. And we've published a number of rebuttals ever since that time, probably about 45 rebuttals. So most scientists who are thinking about this don't agree that fishes don't feel pain. They think they do feel pain. I'm just going to present to you one study that I think is a pretty clear illustration of pain in a fish. And by the way, when I cite studies, it doesn't mean endorsement. It doesn't mean I think that we should do these studies necessarily. I think we should be, as I say, dispense with the question of pain in fishes. I mean, the evidence is quite overwhelming that they do feel pain, in my view. But nevertheless, there are scientists who are still studying this because there's this debate. I think the debate should be really settled by now. In this study, they took zebrafishes, a commonly used species in studies, and they're maybe that long, they're stripy, they look kind of like zebra stripes, hence the name, beautiful little creatures. And they had about 30 or 40 in this study, and they put them in a complex tank with two chambers, a little bit like a house with two rooms. They were adjoining, and they were shared with the same water supply. But one chamber was dimly lit with lots of places to hide, rocks, vegetation. That's where little fishes like zebrafishes like to spend their time. And then it communicated with another chamber that was brightly lit with nothing in it. It was barren. And that's not the kind of place that a little fish likes to be because there's nowhere to hide, they feel exposed, they don't spend their time there. And sure enough, all of the fishes in the study spent pretty much the whole time in the first chamber, and they didn't swim over to the other side. Then, depending on who they were in the study, they injected them either with a saline solution, that is a solution that is liquid, it's a control, but it shouldn't cause any lasting pain. The other group, unfortunately, were injected with an acid solution, which, if they can feel pain, is going to hurt for a while. And then they watched them, and their behavior changed a bit, but they generally stayed away still from the barren chamber. They continued to spend pretty much all their time on this side, on the dimly lit places to hide chamber where they liked. And then the scientists dissolved a painkiller, lidocaine, in the undesirable side of the tank, the brightly lit barren chamber. And guess what happened? Some of these fishes started swimming across and hanging out in that side of the chamber. And it was only the ones who'd received the acid injection, not the ones who'd received the saline. So this study, to me, says three things. One is fishes are feeling pain. Two, they have the wherewithal and the resourcefulness to do something about it when you give them the opportunity, right? They'll swim over into and get that painkiller, the relief of pain. Three, and I think perhaps most convincing, they're willing to pay a cost to get pain relief. They're willing to go and swim where they would normally avoid. I don't want to swim in that barren chamber. I don't feel safe there, but, oh, wait a minute, I get pain relief. So it's worth being there for a little while. So that's what happened in that study. This is a paradigm that's been shown to demonstrate pain in rats and chickens, as if we need to demonstrate it, but nevertheless scientists ask these questions. It is at least good that scientists are asking these questions now, given that there are a few people who still, in fact, a lot of fishermen like to believe that fishes don't feel pain. We do need the evidence, and the evidence is there. We probably don't need to collect any more, because the evidence, I think, from a study like that is pretty darn convincing. All right, time to bring up my cheat sheet, my little notes, to remind me what I was going to talk about next. Another common myth about fishes is that they have a sucky memory, that they don't remember very much. The 3-second memory of a goldfish, anyone ever heard that? I actually hadn't heard that when I started researching my book, but I've since seen it in advertising. I've seen that trope in a number of places. Don't know where it came from, but I can tell you that fishes remember perfectly well. I'll give you an example of a little fish called the frillfin goby. It's about 4 inches long, lives in the intercoastal area. It lives in what's called the intertidal zone, the rocky rock pool area between high tide and low tide. When it's low tide, they're hanging into these rock pools. And they do an amazing thing sometimes to escape danger. If, say, an octopus comes lurking or a big heron comes and is trying to catch them, they can jump from one tide pool to another. It raises the question, how do they know which way to jump, and how do they know how far to jump? How do they avoid making a leap of faith and ending up stranded on the rocks, dying, right? They do it. How do they do it? Well, a series of experiments done in, of all places, downtown New York City at the Museum of Natural History, starting in the late 1940s through the 1970s, demonstrated quite clearly what they do and how they do it. They learn that. They learn that rock pool area. And they learn it at high tide. They learn it when the water comes in and they can swim over it and among it. They swim down among the little nooks and crannies and they learn it. They get it in their head. In one trial, in one day they can learn it. And then they can jump accurately. They can avoid making that leap of faith. The way it was done is the scientist in New York City set up a fake tide pool zone, a bunch of depressions in the floor, and then he would fill it and then lower it down so it was high tide, low tide. He would simulate their environment, albeit in a somewhat artificial, unnatural setting. And he found that if a frillfin goby had had the opportunity to swim in that area at high tide when he filled it up with water, and then he took that out and they had them in the pools in the low tide simulation, he found that they were accurate in jumping out from one pool to another when he prodded them and made them jump at about 98%. So almost perfect memory. If they had not had a high tide experience, 15%, which is about by chance. He calculated that if you took a chance direction jump, you'd have about a 15% chance of landing in a neighboring pool. So it quite clearly demonstrated they're memorizing this low tide environment at high tide. They're taking an aerial view, if you like, and being able to translate that somehow into a horizontal view. And they can do it in one trial, and they can do it 40 days later after they've had 40 days without any practice with it. After learning it 40 days previous, they can remember it. So that's called mental mapping by scientists, and it's a pretty remarkable mental feat, especially by such a little animal. Size really doesn't matter. I mean, little brains can do amazing things if they're important to the animal. There's a lot of other stuff about memory I could tell you. In fact, let me move on to another skill that fishes have that is related to memory. Recognition, individual recognition. There's pretty much no study of the social behavior of fishes that has failed to document that individuals in a group recognize other individuals as individuals. They recognize, just as you probably can recognize a bunch of people here because you've met them before, you met them today, and you're using vision mainly, and mostly they use vision as well. Fishes do the same thing. They have their shoal mates, they have their preferred fish they like to swim with, and they recognize them as individuals. In fact, aquarium fish keepers who live with fishes at their home have claimed for a long time they recognize me. They know it's me. You know, there can be 5 people in the room, and I walk in, and then the fish swims over because it's time. You know, they wanted me to feed them or something. So that's kind of the lore, if you like. But recently, a research team from Germany actually showed that they actually do recognize us. In fact, they can recognize us by face. They can recognize us by face if we have no hair, if the hair is removed, if the ears are removed. So you can even take away some of the cues that we would use to recognize individuals, and they still recognize a human face. How do you test that, by the way? Well, you can train fishes to bump their noses against one of 2 symbols. There's certain fishes you can squirt water to at one target versus another. I have a really cool slide of that, but you're not going to see it today. In fact, I'm going to mention archerfish in just a moment. There's even evidence now of the possibility of Recognition in fishes, the way that's studied in animals is you typically present them with a mirror after you put a mark on them that they don't know it's there. So the first study published in 1970 was done where they took chimpanzees, they anesthetized them, then they put a dot on their forehead, and then when the chimpanzees recovered, they presented them with a mirror. And they wanted to see how's that chimp going to respond to the mirror. If the chimp makes a threat display or looks behind the mirror or something like that, it suggests that they're not recognizing that image as them. But no, the chimps immediately, they looked at in the mirror and they started to try and touch. That was being debunked a long time ago, and now there's many species known to use tools in various ways, and fishes are included. You can watch YouTube videos of a tusk fish, for instance, swimming up to, swimming to the sand, and then using water as a tool by blowing it in two different ways, blowing it out of the mouth or turning away and closing the gill cover, kind of like a bellows to make the water puff of water that removes the sand, grabbing the mollusk that's under the sand, a little clam, and carrying it very deliberately, very purposefully to a particular location, in this case a rock or a piece of coral, that is then used as an anvil, also a tool, as the fish, with a very series of well-timed, coordinated head flicks and releases, smashes the unfortunate mollusk against the rock to open it up to get at the soft tissue inside.
What fish is that again?
That is a tusk fish. Yes, it breaks the mollusk by hammering it against. Take a walnut in the shell in a swimming pool sometime and throw it against the wall of the pool and see how easy or not easy it is to open that. It's actually pretty hard because water is very viscous and the walnut slows down very fast. So it's a quite impressive bit of coordination, and it's a very fast head flick that little fish makes. And again, it was filmed by a professor at University of California, one of the campuses there. And remember I mentioned the fish that can squirt water? That's called the archerfish, named for its skill. There's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 species known, and they have this remarkable ability to use water as a tool, as a projectile, to catch food, to catch flying insects. They mostly feed underwater, but if they see a bee, well, maybe not a bee, if they see a moth or a fly or maybe a dragonfly flying over, they will squirt water at it and try and hit it, or perhaps perched on a leaf. So those are two types of targets they'll go after. So let me just describe a little bit about how they do that. First of all, it doesn't come factory programmed. They have to learn it. They have to develop the skill. In fact, studies from Germany, they seem to be doing a lot of interesting studies on fish in Germany, have shown that if you take a young archerfish who has never actually shot water at a target, they can't hit anything even moving half an inch a second. So very slow movement. They can't even hit that. But if you give them a chance to watch older, more experienced individuals firing water at targets without them doing it themselves, they learn it very well by observation. So it's called observational learning, and they get quite good at it when you give them the opportunity to do it themselves. So it is sort of an apprenticeship program. They learn as they go, and learning is part of being a conscious, cognitive creature. And they use at least two methods to catch the prey. Unfortunately, I can't put the microphone down, so we'll make the microphone the fish. Okay. So one way they do it is if the insect is flying pretty far away, like a foot or more. By the way, they can squirt water 10 feet, up to 10 feet. Then they will do a quarterback technique. They will squirt the water ahead, hoping to meet the insect when it gets there. So it's like a predictive tracking, right? So they go like that with the water. This is the water. This is the fish and the water. Okay, we all on board? Good. They rotate their body at the same rate that the insect is flying by, and then they shoot directly at it, and that way the water goes like that. So two different techniques they will use, at least two, as far as we know, to catch their food. So it's a fairly flexible behavior. They will also aim water below an insect who's perched on a leaf, because if you shoot at the insect, you're apt to knock it further onto land, which is not going to help you. You want it to fall into the water, so they tend to shoot just below or maybe above the insect so it drops off when it gets jolted. I'm going to use the word jolted again in a little bit, because that's a really great word for describing fish behavior. And that will take a 30-second pause for the airplane to go by. How is it? Can you still hear me over the airplane?
Oh, yeah.
Just about? Okay, I'll keep going. Can fishes innovate? I've talked about tool use, so I just want to share a little study of cods, which were in captivity, and they had all been marked with a plastic tag on their back. So they each had a little plastic tag sticking out of their back. And the way they were fed in this study, and this was not a study of innovation by cods, it was just happened to be happenstance discovery. Sometimes you have happy accidents in science. And what happened was, the way they fed themselves was they would pull a string. It was a string that hung into the water with a loop on it. And the cod could swim up and pull that string with the mouth, and it would release one pellet of food every time they did that. Well, it turns out some of the cods, by chance, it just, when they swam by, the loop hooked over their plastic tag on their back. And so when they swam away, it pulled the loop and caused the food to drop. And these fishes who had this happen accidentally realized it's like, hey, this is actually pretty good. This works better. I can get to that pellet of food before anyone else does because my mouth is free. I don't have to pull and then go over. So they actually, some of them started to use this deliberately. They started to deliberately swim in such a way as to hook the loop over the tag and get the food that way. So that was an interesting little discovery, and that was published in a scientific journal about 2 or 3 years ago. I want to talk a little bit about communication in fishes. I mentioned individual recognition. They communicate by sight. They are very visual animals. Some fishes have huge eyes. And by the way, those eyes are served by the same 6 muscles that we have. They have the same names that rotate the eyes. If you look at fishes in an aquarium, if they're really small, you may think that they're just staring straight ahead and they don't really move their eyes. But in fact, they have muscles that serve those eyes, and those eyes are turning often. And if you look at bigger fishes, you can really very clearly see them turning their eyes. There's some fishes, like puffer fishes, who have their both eyes at the front of the head, and that's probably why they're on the cover of my book, because we relate to fishes who have eyes in the front of their heads. They look a bit more like us. So they have kind of that binocular vision. But fishes do also communicate a lot by touch. They communicate by smell. In fact, there's a fear chemical that fishes will release when they're afraid, and it's a signal to other fish. It's like, whoa, there's some danger nearby, we better be careful. So that's a nice way they help each other. And we don't think about fishes using sound because we don't generally hear anything. Well, guess what? We hear in the air, right? Our hearing is adapted to hearing in the air. We can hear stuff underwater, but it's kind of muted. They hear very well underwater, and sound does propagate very well underwater. And so a lot of fish communication is in sound. They make purrs, chirps, pops, cracks, all sorts of sounds. And I list about 25 different terms that are... Some fish are actually named for the sounds they make, like the humu humu nuku nuku apu a. Oh, I said it wrong. The one who grunts like a pig. That's probably named for the sound they make. But also grunts. There's a fish called, a group of fishes called grunts that are named for that. There's others, toadfishes, I think, may be named for their, although they look kind of toad-like. But there are a few examples that escape me right now. But I did want to ask you, anyone ever heard of flatulent communication? I don't usually get many hands up for that. However, well, yes, humans or fishes, yeah. Perhaps not amongst humans, although I don't know, some people I know. But in herrings, it has been scientifically documented that herrings do fart to communicate with each other. They release bubbles, sometimes for as long as 7 seconds in a row. Try that at home. And it's a way to make a sound that other herrings will use. It's been shown that they do this more per capita in larger schools, so it appears to have a social function. It's not known what the function is yet, but they do it. And the scientists, in their playfulness, call them frequent repetitive tics. I'll let you do the acronym for that. All right, what else do I have on communication? Referential communication. Okay, now we're going to get really sophisticated. Now this, to me, is pretty mind-blowingly sophisticated for any animal. It's very, very rare in nature for animals to use gestures to